And I pointed out some of the things that we haven't seen before. The decreasing in the temperature of some of the models. Very few. When you looked at those 316, there were only about 3. So they're very obviously anomalous projections. However, it's still within that our understanding. It is the model is producing that number. So again, we're going to look at the 2020s, 2050s, and 2080s. This is the IPCC second assessment report, third assessment report, fourth and fifth assessment report. And they start, I don't know, I think it's 96, 2000, 2007, and this is 2014. And we're not comparing apples and apples here because there are different types of models, different types of greenhouse gas emissions. So there's no direct comparison, but I thought in terms of messaging that it would be important because regardless of how the end result had been arrived at, people were still taking that number as meaning, oh, this is how the climate's going to change in this region. So we're looking at temperature, and this is change, showing all increases, and using an ensemble of that, which I don't say. As you can see that the fifth assessment report is showing larger changes that we're experiencing sooner. So a lot of the changes that in the previous model of projections were going to be happening around the 2050s. Well, some of them are happening now, and so that's being reflected, I think, here. In terms of the 2050s, we kind of did a little dip, but we're back being higher. And the 2080s. So we continually show that from a messaging point of view, that things are getting warmer. Each assessment report or our projections are showing that things will be getting warmer. That's also meaning that that our science is getting better, our understanding is getting better, and we are talking about atmospheric researchers, atmospheric scientists, and they're very, very conservative people. Like I've done studies looking at the interplay between science and policy on issues like acid rain and stratospheric ozone depletion, even on climate change. And every model, in every case, the models have underplayed what the actual damage was in the environment. So it doesn't bode well for these models. Like you guys are saying, well, there's so much uncertainty and everything else. Well, these are conservative people making conservative projections. Not only in my opinion, it's when I used to work at Harvard, that's what we looked at. This one, precipitation, again, is showing more increases as well in terms of the precipitation levels. I personally don't put much, I'm not as confident in these results of global climate models, primarily because the uncertainty with precipitation is much higher. The idea that things are getting drier does go against our sort of understanding of how the physical environment would respond to higher temperatures, but heck, it surprises us all the time, doesn't it, right? We don't know how the environment's going to respond to things. But that's what it's telling us, is saying that the models are showing us that the impacts are going to be stronger in all cases, and the most likely is increases in temperature and more precipitation. So GCMs, there's no guarantees. These are still just models looking into the future. It is our best science. It is our best progression of science, from going from our supercomputers that we carry in our pockets now to supercomputers are still really big. I don't know what they're up to. I think they're at the Cray 6 now, and it's no longer the size of a room, but it's at least the size of this table, the last one I saw. They keep them now deep underneath. After September 11th, they built a special cavern underneath Dorval, Montreal, where because they realized that weather information was so important to national security, and so it's not easy to go and just take a peek at them like we used to all the time. But it's still in terms of accuracy, I think they're in the right ballpark, the global climate models, in terms of what the future climate is going to be undertaken. And most of the uncertainty comes just because we don't know, we haven't talked about any silver bullets. I mean, there might be some renewable energy we haven't thought about that somebody comes up with. I'm not crossing my fingers. I don't have great hopes. I guess I'm a humanist. I think that we can get ourselves out of these things, but I don't want them. They've talked about pumping particulate matter into the high atmosphere. I mean, that's why sometimes volcanoes do influence global climate. It's not the amount of ash they put out, it's how high the ash goes, and it tends to deflect the radiation that would circle the Earth. 1993, Pinatubo was a volcano that affected, it shows up on every observational record, the summer of 1993, of how much that influenced the global climate. So they thought we'd try and replicate that. They've also talked about, there's a German scientist who says, give me a shipload of iron and I'll show you the next ice age. And they actually went and dumped some iron illegally. Everybody's heard about that. Hasn't had the response climatologically that people have thought it would. And when compared with the previous assessments, and again, remember I said it's not apples and apples, but in terms of messaging, it is, when it does come out, this report, which of course results are embargoed, but I'm no longer part of the IPCC, and I'm not, we've created another product based on the output. It's not, so it allows me to go around and talk about these things, I suppose. I don't know what they can do. Compared to the messaging, they are showing that things are even warmer than we thought, or will be. Their projections are showing that will be warmer than we thought, as well as wetter than anticipated. That was a few minutes over, but should be okay.